Hello and welcome! Today, we're diving into something that's absolutely central to protein metabolism, the amino acid pool. Now, I want you to think of it like the body's super busy, high-speed currency exchange for the building blocks of life. So let's get right into it. So let's say you've just had a protein-rich meal. A steak, some chicken, a protein shake, whatever. That protein gets broken down into individual amino acids. But then what? Where do they all go? Do they just get socked away in storage somewhere? Well, the answer is way more dynamic and honestly a lot cooler than you might think. And this is it. Meet the amino acid pool. Okay, first things first, and this is super important, this is not a physical swimming pool of amino acids. It's a concept. It's this idea of a reserve, about 100 grams of free amino acids that are just available. They're circulating all throughout your body's fluids and cells, totally ready to be used at a moment's notice for whatever your body needs. And just to be super accurate, as Dr. Satyanarayana points out in his textbook, calling it a single pool is a bit of a simplification. In reality, it's more like a collection of different compartments. But thinking of it as one big unified pool is a really powerful and useful model for understanding how amino acids flow through the body. Okay, check this out, because this is where it gets really fascinating. If you look at what this pool is actually made of, just look at that huge slice of the pie. About half of the entire pool is made up of just two amino acids, glutamate and glutamine. So why is that? Well, glutamate basically acts as a collection point for nitrogen, and glutamine is the main non-toxic way our body transports that nitrogen around. And get this, the essential amino acids, the ones you have to get from food, they only make up about 10% of the pool. Wild, right? So just like any economy or currency exchange, this pool has stuff constantly coming in and constantly going out. You've got deposits and you've got withdrawals. So let's take a look at the supply and demand that keeps this whole amino acid economy humming along. So where's the supply coming from? Well, there are three main sources. First, you've got the obvious one, the protein you eat, which is usually somewhere between 40 and 100 grams a day. Second, and this is a biggie, is the constant breakdown and recycling of your body's own proteins. And third, your body is smart. It can actually make its own non-essential amino acids and add them to the pool whenever it needs to. And just to give you an idea of the scale of that second source, I want you to look at this number. Every single day, your body breaks down and rebuilds about 300 to 400 grams of its own protein. That's 3 to 4 times bigger than the entire amino acid pool itself. It's just incredible. It really shows you how unbelievably dynamic this whole system is. All right, so where do all these amino acids go? This is the demand side, the withdrawal side of our little economy. The number one destination, matching that turnover rate, is building new proteins. They're also used to create other really important nitrogen-containing things, like the building blocks of your DNA or the heme in your red blood cells. They can be burned for energy, giving us about 10 to 15% of our daily needs. And finally, if you eat way more protein than you need, the body removes the nitrogen part and can convert the leftover carbon structure into glucose or even fat for storage. But here's the catch. Using amino acids for energy or converting them to glucose, well, that creates a really serious problem. See, amino acids have nitrogen in them, and when you break them down, you have to do something with that nitrogen. And this brings us to one of the most critical jobs the liver has in our entire body. So let's just pause and think about this for a second before we move on. That amino group, that little nitrogen part, has to be removed. What does it become? And what on earth does the body do with it? The answer is ammonia. And let me be clear, ammonia is bad news. It is incredibly toxic, especially to your brain and your central nervous system. The body absolutely cannot let this stuff build up. It's a major problem that needs a solution fast. So the body needs to take this dangerous, toxic ammonia and convert it into something safe. And that safe substance is urea. Urea is basically everything that ammonia is not. It's non-toxic, it dissolves in water, and it can be easily filtered out by the kidneys so we can get rid of it. It's the perfect solution. And the amazing biochemical pathway that performs this life-saving transformation is called the urea cycle. This incredible process happens pretty much exclusively in the liver. The liver's like a detox center, pulling that toxic ammonia out of the bloodstream and converting it into harmless urea. So that brings us to the clinical side of all this. I mean, this is an elegant, beautiful system when it's all working. But what happens when it breaks down? As you can imagine, the consequences can be incredibly severe. This quote really says it all. You don't need a huge, massive buildup of ammonia for things to start going wrong. Even a small increase, a marginal elevation, is harmful. This condition, called hyperammonemia, can cause slurred speech, tremors, blurred vision, and can quickly lead to a coma and even death. It's serious stuff.
And you see this problem pop up in a few key clinical situations. So in liver disease like hepatitis, the liver itself is damaged and it just can't run the urea cycle effectively. The result? Toxic ammonia builds up. In some rare genetic disorders, a person might be born without one of the key enzymes needed for the cycle. And in kidney failure, the body can't get rid of the urea it makes. This causes high blood urea, called uremia, which can then cause a secondary rise in ammonia as the whole system gets backed up.
Okay, I know that was a lot of information, but hopefully you can see how everything connects. Let's just pause and do a quick recap of the most important points to really lock these concepts in, especially for your exams. So if you remember just 3 things from this whole explainer, please make it these. Number 1, the amino acid pool is a small but incredibly dynamic reserve. It's not storage. Number 2, this pool is always in flux, perfectly balanced by inputs like your diet and outputs like building new muscle. And number 3, the liver is the absolute hero of this story, running the urea cycle to protect us from toxic ammonia. All right, time for a quick pop quiz to make sure that all landed. First question, which organ is the absolute linchpin, the central player in this whole system? And for your second question, can you name just one major way amino acids get into the pool and one major way they get taken out? And hey, if you need a little something extra to make this stick for your exams, I've got a great memory aid for you. Just remember that amino acids flow. F is for the food you eat. L is for the liver making non-essential ones. O is for your own tissues being turned over. And W is for the work they do. Flow. And I want to leave you with one last thing to just chew on. We've spent all this time talking about how dangerous and toxic ammonia is. So why do you think our bodies evolved to even use it in the first place? Why didn't evolution just find a way to skip it? What makes this toxic little molecule so useful that we had to build an entire complex cycle just to get rid of it? It's something to think about, and it really just highlights the amazing complexity of our own biochemistry. I hope this helps you connect all the dots.